Yeah, I think the SOPA legislation is extremely dangerous, and it essentially tries to set up a censorship regime that is not unlike the Syrian or the Chinese or any of the other countries that we consider to be non-free or enemies of the internet. And I think we should make sure that that does not happen. And I think most of the internet, especially people running the infrastructure, understand that that's the case. And I think it's important for people to reject censorship, full stop. I think that the answer is that SOPA is extremely dangerous. What happened today with Mega Upload is an example of how, regardless of what the rule of law says, people are going to go to extreme lengths to try to put any sort of disturbance, I guess you could say, to rest. And that is very scary. The idea that this guy in New Zealand could be arrested for running a website where other people upload files is, I find that to be really super sketchy. What does that have to do with America? I mean, it's bad enough that the United States invades other countries and murders people. Now it's trying to apply its laws all over the world with regard to copyright. I mean, break that word down for a second. Copyright, the right to copy. It is not theft to copy a thing, because the original owner is not deprived of this so-called property. I mean, intellectual property, as someone once said to me, is not what you think. And I think that it is absolutely disgusting to imagine that people would suggest that things that are a stream of bits, that aren't even things, they don't even exist, they're immaterial electronic pulses, that somehow that people should be going to prison because you allow people to share streams of bits. Unbelievable. Seizing their property, arresting them, doing that without, I think, without reasonable process. I mean, why not just serve the guy? Why not give him a day in court instead of seizing all of his property and arresting him in a big splash? I mean, I think that once they realized that SOPA was going down big time, they tried to assert that they already had the rights they were trying to legalize, or the privilege that they were trying to legalize in SOPA. And the fact that it's going down, now they're going to say, well, we didn't really need that anyway, because we have these other tools and we're going to use them. Super questionable. In fact, it's not really questionable to in the sense that we could think about it as being, well, a debate, if you will. It's clear that these types of arrests and these types of seizures of domains are happening in a bureaucratic and an administrative sense rather than a judicial justice sense. I mean, I don't know all of the details about the latest seizure. I only know what has been reported in the first 24 hours of this news story breaking. But what I know is that the idea with SOPA was to try to address these concerns. And for someone essentially to go and arrest someone when they do not have these powers and they're trying to get them is just a blatant disregard for democracy. I mean, it's unreal. I mean, this idea of copying being a crime and calling it theft is really a stretch. Really a stretch. The original owner is not deprived of their property at all. Full stop, it's not theft. Yes, I think that the SOPA legislation is specifically trying to normalize the surveillance and censorship state. And I think it is very, very important for people to reject the surveillance and the censorship state. Without question, full stop. Yes, there are bad people on the internet, but there are a lot of bad people. Consider that the people that want to run the surveillance machine are the one that killed 100,000 Iraqi civilians in the last 10 years. Who are the real terrorists? People that try to stop you from communicating, even up into the point of dropping bombs on your house and killing you? Or the people that are copying music, or sharing photos, or talking about how they're opposed to murder? I'm sorry, but the criminals there are the ones that commit murders, that stop people from speaking, that remove and restrict the right for people to read and to talk about things that are objectively happening. That's a serious problem, and we need to stand up to those people, and we need to do the things that are actually correct here to allow people to speak. The solution to bad speech is more speech, not less speech. And the solution to murder is to stop murdering people. A revolutionary idea for sure. I think that the solution to the surveillance state is to refuse to surveil each other first. And I think secondly, to refuse to allow yourself to be surveilled. So when you browse the web, use Tor. When you are chatting with people, use off-the-record messaging and Tor together. Make sure that you use SSL before you log into the chat server. Make sure that when you log into a site, give it as much fake information as you possibly can, so that if the data is turned over, it's worthless. Make sure they never know where you really log in from. Try not to carry a cell phone if you can help it. Remember that it's a tracking device that also makes phone calls. And when you refuse to surveil other people and you refuse to let yourself be surveilled, that's how you actually start to make a dent in the surveillance state, right? You start to make a change with yourself first. And then everyone else can start to go along with you too.